Okay, cool. All right. I'm just gonna hop right into this. Um, okay. So, hello, welcome. I'm ZakuNuva. This is going to be a quick and dirty tutorial on how I do mixing. This is my mixing style. I'm not a professional. This is just how I do things. There's a million different ways to do it, but this is how I do it. So, Um, this is my preferred. Just gonna go ahead and hop in. This is a software called Recordbox. I have this hooked up to a DJ controller. The controller I am using is a DDJ FLX4. Um, this is not the default layout. This is my preferred look. Um, Up here, I've got my waveforms. I've got my beat grid. I've got my song view. I've got this is my cue pads, and also shows the position of the jog wheels. I've got my playlist pulled up. Typically, this is kind of minimized. I've also got this tab out to the side. I'll explain this in a second. And then I've got my collection. This is all my music. So I guess let's go ahead and start with what I consider the two most important things in a mix or in DJing, and that is sound selection and transitioning. And I'll get into both real quick. Song selection, in my opinion, refers to the songs that you choose to play and to mix together. A song that is going into this song selection, two of the key elements that I consider are the key that the song is in. That's you know, the key, obviously, and the BPM, the beats per minute. It is going to be very difficult if I were to say, let's just go over to some of the most popular songs that I play. Let's scroll all the way to the top. So, I tend to obviously stay in the higher BPM range, but let's just, I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to choose this. And I'm going to give you a example of poor song selection, and let's bring that in. So, oh, I forgot I'm not actually using my cue, so I'm kind of flying blind, but we'll make it work. So right in this section right here, I'm gonna hit transition, and I'm gonna do this by just going ahead and hit sync, which will match the BPM to the song or to the master. So that's that's doable, but it's not ideal. That isn't a good, I mean, example of song selection because even if I were to try and overlay them and play them at the same time in a area that would work well. So let's move over to let's go back there and let's go back to the start where I originally tried transitioning it in. And I'm gonna turn the volume up for both so you can hear what's going on. And at the same time, what I'm going to go ahead and do is enable a couple of things that will let you see what I'm doing on my controller in real time. So we're going to enable this mixer function and this FX panel. And this is going to let you see what I've got going on my DJ controller right now. So you can see in this area right now that I've got my EQ knobs and my volume control. So if I turn up my volume right here, you can see me turning up my volume on deck 1, deck 2, my low frequency, mids, my highs, and then my trim at the top. I'm not going to touch my trim because I've got that set for most of the songs that I play. It's good. So we're just going to leave that here. And then in the middle, you can see I've got this crossfader. In my personal mixing style, I leave this in the center just because of the way that I do things. I don't really use it all that often. I don't use this. I don't know. I if you're a DJ, let me know what you use this for, because I don't use it because these do the same thing. I don't know. I just work here. So, anyways, now let's go and let's find a good example of uh some songs that go together. So, I'm just gonna go down to my original Isekai Wonderland set. I have two songs that I would like to mix together. Let's do Cortado and Everything Goes On. These are really good songs. So now watch these knobs as I do my transition. And just real quick, it's been a while since I've done this, so I want to make sure I get my transition in the right spot. So let's just we'll go through this together. We'll work through this on our own. All right, so there you go. That's a basic transition right there. So there's a combination of things that I did right there, and what I'll do is show you what I did. One thing I didn't point out is there's two little knobs up here that you might have noticed, and that is my high and low pass filter on deck one, and my high and low pass filter on deck two. Now, let me give you a good example of what these do because I can't really explain it because I don't know the music terminology, but we're just gonna go into it. And take note right here when I do sync, and I'll explain the importance of beat grids and sync in just a moment. We'll get to that. But right here, if I push and hold down my sync button, it turns this into the master. That means that this track, when I play this track, it will sync to this track. Let me show you what I mean by that. Baby, got me staring at you. So I'm crazy. Won't you bend that back for me? We won't stop. Got your feet both live. You get to fly with me. You see how it jumps? Take you down for a ride. I take you around my life. Dream won't get cry, won't get good luck with you. I know it, you know it. So that's how sync works. Now sync. Well, let's go ahead and get back into. I'm sorry, I skipped around a little bit. We'll get into our high and low pass filters real quick. I use these personally when I'm transitioning in and out of a track to give it a little extra oomph and to help it flow a little bit. So let me just go ahead and play this, and I'll apply the high and low filter, and you'll see what they do. So you'll see that knob right there affects your high and low pass. Now, personally, I try to avoid putting it too high because it'll kind of get shrill, and you don't want your audience to kind of be like having their ears bleeding. So I'll show you an example of that. That might come across as a little aggressive, so I try to avoid that. But typically when I do a transition, I will both adjust the volume or the EQ while doing a filter sweep. So we'll just... As opposed to just using regular volume, you just notice it falling out. But there's a good combo together. So there's that. So you see sync. Sync is what I kind of consider a cheat code for DJing. Now, a lot of people will say if you use sync, you're not a real DJ, but a lot of effort actually goes into using sync. It's all about preparation, in my opinion. When you import a song into Rekordbox, it'll typically analyze the key and the BPM. Now, this is great. It does a good job typically you get in most songs. However, every once in a while you'll get a song where the beat grid's messed up, and I'll show you an example of that if I can try to find one. Let's just scroll through some songs until I find one that I haven't fixed the beat grid on. Maybe, maybe. Oh, I can't really tell on that. It doesn't look that bad. Oh, I'm doing a really bad job of finding one that's not actually synced up correctly. Let's check this one, maybe. Oh, that seems to be right. How about... I was having trouble with this one the other night. There we go. Might be an example. No, not quite. Okay, I'm having a hard time, but essentially, your beat grid here should have your kicks on the lines. So if I play this, you'll notice that the kicks line up with the lines on here. These lines are what sync together when you actually hit the sync button. So if your lines aren't in the correct spot, when you hit sync, your songs are still going to be out of sync. And you're going to have to either manually do it the old-fashioned way where you adjust your jog wheel to adjust it being in sync. So that's an example of manually syncing and the importance of beat grids. If your beat grid is off in Rekordbox, you can click on this little button right here and adjust them with these beat grid shift keys. Okay, cool. So we've gone over the importance of beat grids. Let's go over mixing in key and BPM. This goes back into song selection as well. Now, I've got this nice little cheat code set up in Rekordbox, where if you click this beautiful little master button, whatever song that you have selected in your master, which is, once again, the master song that your other song will match into, and you click this nice little recommended or related track window, this should, by default, give you a list of songs that are in the same key or a similar matching key and BPM range as what you've got going on right now. So, and you'll also notice in your column, your key column, that any songs that will mix in the same key will be highlighted in green. So let's do two quick songs. So if I click plot armor, you can see over here in the recommended that Crank That Natsara is recommended. So we'll load that up. Let's go ahead and start. And what I'm going to do in the meantime is over here in this fret area, I'm going to go ahead and set my frequencies a little lower so I can actually mix in without having the full volume. Bring my volume back up just so that I've got my volume down so you can hear me talking forward. But I'm going to bring it back up and I'm going to move towards the song and we're going to do a quick transition. See how it goes. now we're gonna get closer to our transition. I want you to note that I've got the master selected as plot armor, and I've got beat sync on the second deck. Cool. So we did a transition. Yay! Let's see. What else do we have to go over? There's a lot of DJ controller specific things I could touch on. I don't think there's a whole lot of use in me going over that because whatever deck you use is likely going to be different than what I have. These are just the basics for doing transitions. Let me see. What else can I go over? A little thing I like to try sometimes when I've got a song that ends abruptly. As a matter of fact, I'll go in. This is my Isekai Wonderland set, and I'll show you a trick I use. So if you're getting to the end of the song, let's go ahead and pull this up as the master, and let's get to the end of the song. Let's say at the end of the set, I want this song to fade out, and I want it to do so at well, we'll show you what I'm talking about. If you were to normally play a song all the way through, you'll get an abrupt end. Now, the last thing you really want to do when you've got a crowd is just have dead silence at the end of it. Now, what I personally like to do as an easy cheat is we're going to use our effects tab. So you see right here at the top, you might see this little guy moving around. And I should have reverb selected as my effect. So this is going to be an example of using effect for a smooth, clean transition out. So we're just going to go over to here, hit play, turn on our effect. Here we've got that nice little fade out. And an example of using this to kind of fade into something. That's what happens if you turn it back, turn the level back up while you've got it enabled. So that's a nice little trick you can use. So I think with this I've covered most of the basics as far as mixing goes. This is just for basic transitions. So the key takeaways I'd say would be if you're using sync, make sure your beat grids are correct because they're not going to do anything for you if you don't have them set correctly. Try to mix in key when you can, and BPM if possible. Of course, you can do minor changes by using your tempo slider accordingly to adjust between tempos. Another thing to try to do is two really quick tips that I like to do is let's prevent overlapping vocals and let's prevent having bass layers on top of each other. Let's go over that real quick. So, a good example of this is between, let's say, um, tonight we realize. We're just going to go ahead and skip to the end, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So that kind of sounds crappy, because you can't really understand what's going on because the lyrics are overlaid on top of each other. So a really good thing to do is to try and fade in or out using EQ with those vocals ahead of time. So let's go back to our transition point. Let's start that again. I'm gonna go a little before, so I actually have some time to do the transition. So that.
Can I ask you, was it something I did?
There you go. So that's a good example of that. Let's do a muddled base situation where I actually fought this on this set as well. We'll go over to our transition point, go a little before that. This is one I actually had a little bit of difficulty with, so you'll actually see me probably struggle with this just a little bit. So notice how it kind of sounds a little overwhelming. Let's go back and let's redo that. Uh, with we're gonna turn down our base frequencies and we're gonna try and swap them off at an equal rate, and we'll see how that sounds. Let's skip a little further in. My bad. There you go. I can't think of anything else that I really need to go over as far as mixing goes. So if you have any questions, let me know. I hope this helps. I've got another tutorial I'm gonna, well, a couple others that I'm gonna put out, but this one's to specifically help you with DJing and mixing and transitioning. So hope this helps, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Ba 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 ba.